In about 9 weeks, Donald Trump will take hold of America's nuclear codes. He'll be able to launch nuclear missiles with a single, momentary decision. And tonight, there are serious concerns about whether Trump wants countries like Japan and South Korea to have nuclear weapons. As a candidate, Trump said this.
Wouldn't you rather, in a certain sense, have Japan have nuclear weapons when North Korea has nuclear weapons?
A few days later, he went back on that, sort of.
Japan should have nuclear. That's what I said, supposedly. I didn't say that. I would rather have them not arm. But I'm not going to continue to lose this tremendous amount of money. And frankly, the case could be made that let them protect themselves against North Korea.
Anti-nuclear advocates say the uncertainty is dangerous.
Japan is in crisis. South Korea is even in a more severe crisis. There are ultra-right nationalist forces in both countries that want nuclear weapons. The President of the United States must be absolutely clear that we do not want them to do that. That is not the path for security in Asia.
We asked the Trump transition team to clarify the president-elect's position. We haven't heard back. Tonight, some of Trump's national security critics say they're outright scared about him having the nuclear codes. They describe him as quick-tempered, prone to lash out.
I would bomb the out of him.
If your closest advisors don't trust you to tweet, how can you trust them with the nuclear codes? You can't do it.
Trump told NBC he'll be responsible with the codes.
I will not be a happy trigger like some people might be. I will be the last, but I will never, ever rule it out.
The moment he's sworn in, Trump will have several potential nuclear crises to deal with. Tensions between Vladimir Putin's forces and NATO are escalating. North Korea's belligerent dictator, Kim Jong-un, already has nuclear weapons that can threaten his neighbors and tens of thousands of U.S. troops in South Korea. If there's an alarm, even a false one, Trump would have only a few minutes to decide whether to launch nuclear weapons or hold back. Pete Metzger is a former Marine who carried the nuclear football, the satchel with launch codes, for President Reagan.
The result of a decision the president would make is so grotesquely horrible, It would change the face of the earth, it would change humanity, it would change mankind.
If the president decides to use the nuclear football and launch a nuclear strike, is there anyone in the chain of command who can actually stop that order? The White House won't comment on that, but Pete Metzger and other experts tell us unless there is a full-on mutiny, no one can stop the president's order.